All right, so let's move on into the final story that we have tonight, and we had to cover this. I actually tried to justify not covering this because I looked everywhere to see if this is disproven or anything like that, but it's been getting quite a bit of discussion about it, and it is something that we've said we would report on. Konami's coming back to game development. I can't believe I'm saying that. And granted, a lot of people are going to go, wait. Okay, calm down. Let me explain this. So, Konami has recently started to make games again. Specifically, they announced at the Indie World Showcase that they would be bringing a Japan exclusive franchise to the world called, and if I murder this, Romney will kick me, I promise, Getsu Fumiden? Is how you say it?
Yep, Getsu Fumiden.
Getsu Fumiden, Undying Moon. It is going to be a reboot of the exclusive franchise, and it's going to be coming out everywhere. So at that point, a lot of people are excited about it, but that immediately made people think, Konami, are you back? Are you officially coming back? And speculation boomed after that as to what Konami's official intentions were, because it could easily just be this. Because this was a reboot of a classic NES game that they could do nothing else with and leave promptly. Here's what we've been able to glean from some of that information. Okay. They have said in the past they hadn't completely disregarded the concept of being able to come back to gaming, to game development. However, they basically kind of restructured how they do things internally so that any kind of internal game development, aside from Getsu Fumiden, but even then, I believe they have outside parties helping them with it, their internal stuff is going to be strictly based towards pachinko, towards mobile, things like that, because that's obviously, where they're making money. So their internal studios will be handling that. But they've also opened up the opportunity for third-party companies to be able to come to them and license out their franchises to be able to make games for other IPs that they own. So, for example, if somebody made a good enough pitch, if Mercury Steam came to them and made a really good pitch for a Castlevania reboot and they liked it, they could then give them the rights to be able to do Castlevania and obviously get their royalties from it and everything like that. So, are they returning to games? Not really. Not really. They're going into mobile gaming and into the gambling stuff that they've always done, but now they're at least applying the opportunity for other studios to come in with a good enough idea to allow for them to license out those properties once again. Sorry, I'm giving a minute for all of the collective coming from our listeners. I hear you, and it is frustrating. All right. Are we all calm now? That's pretty much what it is. Is it cool that Getsu Fumiden is happening? Actually, I'm kind of excited because this is one of those games that people, ever since I got into emulating, recommended to me. And I refused to play it because all the emulations that I could get were Japanese script, and that bugged the crap out of me. So I actually get to try this game, and it's going to be interesting. But do I see, I don't know, a reboot of Silent Hill coming anytime soon? Yeah. Romney, go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, looking at it, knowing how Konami is working, there's been a lot, with the announcement of Getsu Fumiden, there's been a lot of rumors circulating. Most recent, there were even rumors that Konami is possibly in talks with Microsoft regarding some sort of licensing deal for Metal Gear Solid. Some people were thinking, are they
in talks with Sony?
Yeah, they've said, a lot of the rumor, and the most recent release rumor, I saw this on Yongya's channel earlier today, where the most recent rumor is that Konami is in talks with Microsoft regarding Metal Gear Solid, but they don't know if this means it's going to be a sale of the IP or if they're going to basically be creating an Xbox exclusive game in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, or if it could just be that they're licensing the property out to Microsoft to make a game for their consoles. A lot of things are up in the air. Basically, what I see here is Konami basically dipping its toe in the water, thinking, okay, well, if we contract these other studios with our IP, can we make some extra money this way?
Yeah.
And so although I am curious about Getsu Fumaden, I'm very much cautious because, again, this is Konami that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Their track record, it's kind of like, okay, it's a roguelike. They're probably going to try to monetize it somehow. Some sort of microtransaction stuff to make the roguelike elements easier.
Yep.
Again,
I'm
it
already
looks
worried
fun.
about that with Diablo Immortal. Now I'm also worried about it with this.
Yeah, because Konami, I mean, they did it with Metal Gear Survive. They did it with the Phantom Pain. It's one of those, this is Konami.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm definitely curious, but I'm still very cautious because, again, this is Konami. I find it really hard to really feel excited for this because, again, Konami does not have the greatest track record from what we have seen. And
Nope.
so it's one of those, if they're coming back into game development, great, but...
Well, and on top of that, here's the other thing that has to be considered with that, okay? This is a roguelike, which means it's easily monetizable. So at that point, what they're basically saying is, if it's not monetizable, it's not coming back. So at that point, like, if they can monetize Metal Gear, okay, they will do Metal Gear. If they can't, it stays in the vault, kind of thing, and until somebody can make a worthwhile offer. And the only reason I will also kind of dispute the Microsoft talks, because you brought up the idea of them just selling the IPs right off the bat. Many companies have come to them to just buy the IPs right off the bat, and they have been stubborn as hell about letting them go. So that's the one thing I don't agree on, is that they want to keep these things for whatever monetizable worth they see out of them. So at that point, I don't see them selling them off permanently. I see them doing more like royalties. Like, we'll license this out to you, but we get royalties for it. Because that's
when you
much more Konami-esque when you think about it.
Yeah, especially when you look at what they've been doing with Silent Hill and licensing that out to other developers. Granted, not all the games have been received as well, but they have turned a decent profit for the company because Konami themselves aren't the ones taking the larger risk. That's why we got, 3 Western-developed Silent Hill games of varying quality. And some of them tried their best. It's one of those classic cases of, well, without Team Silent or the people who actually understand Silent Hill and how it works behind the helm, it's just not the same. And even if they do license out Metal Gear or Castlevania to these other developers, we're going to run into that same issue where it's just not going to be.
And on top of that, a lot of these properties are just not going to fall into that fold. I'm actually one of those of the opinion that Silent Hill would not be monetizable as far as Konami is concerned, and so at that point it'd probably stay in the vault, which is sad for Silent Hill fans. Castlevania can be converted to being more monetizable, but I think the Castlevania fans would be very hurt by that, and in turn probably wouldn't support it.
Yeah, case in point, Harmony of Dissonance. It didn't really get as much support during its heyday.
Are you talking about Harmony of Despair?
Oh, Despair.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem that you really
Yeah, because to bring people up to speed, Harmony of Despair is an online multiplayer Metroidvania, basically. You can play as one of the key characters in Castlevania and then be able to collect weapons like a regular Metroidvania, except you'd be able to play with friends and you could race them to the goal, kind of thing. And that actually, that's monetizable as far as I'm concerned. Like, that would be something that Konami would have no problem bringing into a mobile fold. But if you were to say do something like, I don't know, Lords of Shadow as an example, that's not going to be monetizable to them. It's going to seem like much more of a risk. And at that point, that's what I'm basically trying to point out is, like, Konami is going to look at this. They're not going to sell the property outright, but they are going to look at what people want to do and assess the risk of it versus the reward.
Yeah, especially when you consider what happened when they tried with Contra Rogue Core and how much of a disaster that was.
Which is sad because I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it's just one of those that, again, I look at this, the game looks interesting. It looks like something I would want to check out, but knowing Konami, it's very much a case of Konami doesn't really have a soul anymore. A lot of the artists and designers behind a lot of these games that gave it their identity have since jumped ship. And so now you basically just have what is ostensibly a flesh puppet being puppeted by a bunch of corporate overlords.
Pretty much. And that's going to be that's why in a lot of cases if they at least consider the option of, like, licensing this stuff out, I want to see, like, very passionate companies be able to take them up. And in some cases, that might be too costly even for them because Konami is just going to require too much out of it. And until Konami can like basically lower their expectations financially, I don't really see anybody making a pitch that's sustainable to them.
Yeah, not
I
unless
really
it's
don't.
something that it can be done on like the super cheap. Like,
Mhm.
if in an ideal world, I would see them giving something like Castlevania to a studio like Way Forward, which has proven that they
Which
can
would
make.
be a good idea as far as I'm concerned. I know that would probably piss off Alex, but if they adopted the formula of like the GBA days, I think they'd make a lot of money out of it.
I mean, Way Forward has already done a similar game. The Mummy Demastered
Mm-hmm.
is pretty much Castlevania in all but name.
Well, the Shantae series is pretty much Castlevania and everything but name.
Yeah, it's just
Like I might be wrong about this comparison, but Romney can correct me. Basically, the Shantae formula is Order of Ecclesia. So, like, being able to go to different locales or in some cases, Portrait of Ruin, being able to go to different locales and basically having mini Metroidvania maps that cover the area.
yeah. I mean, granted, that formula wasn't really unique to just Castlevania. I think there have been a few other games
No.
prior to Order of Ecclesia. I think Shantae actually kind of beat Order of Ecclesia to that formula
I
by a
wouldn't
number
be
of
surprised if
years.
Order of Ecclesia was inspired by it. I wouldn't
Well,
be surprised.
it's more one of those that, as a genre, various Metroidvanias kind of took that approach. They kind of look it basically. It's kind of like a hybrid of, oh well, we saw how Mega Man lets you choose like which boss you can fight bosses in any order, kind of doing things in that same sort of vein where you basically can explore different areas, and if you happen to have certain power-ups from another area, they make certain things easier. There have been many games that have done that approach. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it's something that's been done prior to both Shantae and Order of Ecclesia.
Yeah, and once again, I'm sorry, Alex, but like if I have an opportunity for Way Forward to make a Castlevania game versus a Shantae game, I know you love Shantae, but I kind of want a Way Forward Castlevania game.
I don't doubt they'd do a good job. It's just
They
I don't
would.
know.
That's my
Yeah.
problem.
That's also a case of this is in an ideal world, but we don't live in that world. And Konami, being Konami, is going to want to license these games and make them as cheaply as possible.
Or what's the other company I'm thinking of that did the Curse of the Moon titles? Inti Creates. Inti Creates, like, because you were bringing up Mega Man, and they have the Azure Striker Gunvolt series under their belt. Man, it'd be cool to be able to see like a Castlevania game or even, heaven forbid, a Contra game from them, just to see what they would do with those formulas. But that's me, and that's just because I miss those games. So screw you, Alex. You get what I want now.
Yeah, Konami returning to game development. We're only seeing the early inklings. If this becomes a thing that they do going forward consistently, maybe. But given what we know now of how Konami treats their employees, it kind of raises the question of, do we actually feel like supporting them as a company, given that they treat their employees like crap and made it impossible for former employees to get health insurance because of, well, corruption and the fact that
it's really true. Like I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. But at the same time, like, if we have an opportunity to be able to have passionate indie developers be able to get their hands on these long-standing franchises, which, in my opinion, honestly, they would put much more love and much more devotion into than any AAA company out there right now. And so at that point, like, if we had the opportunity for Way Forward or, heaven forbid, Yacht Club to work on some of these properties, I mean, I want them to jump on the opportunity. I really do. Especially for those like me who have been begging for games in these franchises. I've even seen people begging for like additional classic Metal Gear games to be able to kind of like the biggest one that I've seen is like an old school adaptation of Metal Gear Solid in like the Metal Gear 2 engine kind of thing.
So basically, Twin Snakes.
Yeah, kind of. Kind of, but it just that would be really cool if you got some like a company like Yacht Club where we know a lot of passion lives. That would be amazing to me, but it just depends on if they can, because these are the people that I think Konami would laugh out the door, because they would look at them and go, ha ha ha, you can't pay what we want.
Yeah, and that's the honest truth.
So, final thoughts on this one before we wrap up for the night. I really hope that something good comes out of this, but I'm sorry, but my Draki senses are going off because this is Konami we're talking about, and there really hasn't been any significant changes in leadership there. So at that point,
Nope.
if we were talking like the significant changes in Nintendo, I'd be a lot more optimistic, but Konami hasn't had changes like that. So yeah, I'm not really. Romney, what about you?
Honestly, it's very much a wait and see moment for me. Like, my senses are picking up, my brain's kind of currently in caution mode. Like, and the alarm system has not quite dropped down to evasion mode yet. And so it's one of those, yeah, I mean, good if people, I mean, yeah, good that they're starting to make games again, but they still treat their employees like crap and prevent former employees from getting health insurance because of the massive corruption in Japan. So it's kind of one of those, yeah, I mean, it's great, but do I really want to pay for it knowing what Konami does to their employees?
Yep.
Not really sure I want to.
Not sure. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I gotta share the skepticism here. I think they're gonna find some way to Konami this up.
They're gonna find that would be another title here. They'll find a way to Konami it up.